All right, so the topic for today's video is putting yourself in a position to receive abundance, to receive your blessings, to receive what the universe, what God has in store for you. Let's get right into the video. But basically, I want to start it by saying, I don't know how religious you guys are, how spiritual you guys are. You know, I do believe that God has perfect timing for you. I do believe that God has a very interesting, you can call it funny, crazy, perfect, just, unfathomable, whatever way you want to say it, way of just his timing, right? And sometimes we just can't believe it. And I feel like I've experienced that before, and that's kind of a story that I want to talk about today. But before we talk about that story, I basically just want to tell you guys and give you guys a little motivation, a little inspiration, a little bit of hopefully something you need to hear right now. But basically, I want to tell you guys that if you're not casting your net out, or if you're not even stepping foot on shore to even cast your net, you don't even have a net, you didn't even build a net, like you're not going to be able to receive any blessings, right? You're not going to be able to receive any fish, any food, any sustenance, right? And that's what we want, right? I know a lot of people want love, they want money, they want freedom, they want a lot of things, right? And I'm very thankful for the things that I have. I think you should be very thankful for a lot of the stuff that you have. But we all have things that we want, things that we ask and we pray for. But if you're praying for something, if you're wanting something, if you really want something, but yet you're not showing God, the universe, whatever whatever you believe in, a higher power, if you're not showing them by your actions, by how you spend your time, by what you focus on, what you talk about, you're not going to get those things. They're not going to come to you, or they're not going to come to you in the way that you want them to, And I feel like that's super important. That's a super important thing that we have to literally tell ourselves, right? Because without time, we can't spend our energy. We can't basically do anything, right? Without any energy, we can't spend our time. So we need one to really, talk about the other one, right? Or we really need one for the other one. But basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're not showing up, you're not able to receive. If you're not doing the work, you're not able to receive, right? If you're not, asking for it, you're not going to be able to really receive, right? If you're not acting like the person you need to be, you're not ready, right? And let me relate it to YouTube, right? If your dream is freedom, financial freedom, being able to get paid even when you're not necessarily actively working, right? Having your videos pay you while you sleep, if your dream is to have a viral moment to where one video kind of just blows up and basically changes your life, right? Before you get that, you think you're going to get there without casting your net, which your net is your videos, right? Is your content. You really think that's going to happen for you if you're not casting your net far and wide, or you don't even have a net to begin with, right? You haven't even posted a single video. You haven't even started the channel, right? If you've been thinking about it and just sitting on the sidelines and just, kind of dreaming about it and asking for it, and God knows you want that, right? Because you think about it so much and you really want it, you feel it, but yeah, your actions, the reality that you're creating it's not matching with that. It's not aligning. That's why you're still at that job. That's why you're still in that relationship. That's why whatever, right? You guys get that. You guys get the picture, right? We can ask for things and they can be maybe in line for us, but that without our actions and without our time and our energy and our focus on them, it's hard to say that it'll happen for us, And also, just know that if you post and it doesn't get likes right away, it doesn't get views right away, you don't get subscribers right away, just you build something and they will come, eventually, don't forget that, But that's kind of basically where I'm at right now. And in terms of what my story is about today, right? This is kind of a story that I've never really told a lot of people because it has a lot of emotional tie to it, because it was I was going through financial hardships. Which in turn led to relationship problems with my partner, and kind of just was a lot of stress. It was a lot of stress, and it really took a toll on our relationship. It took a toll on my mental health, and it really just gave me a lot of, like, how do I say, a lot of negative views on money and stuff, and it was just a dark time, right? But basically, I want to take you guys back to, I want to say at this point in my life is 4 years ago, right? At the time, I was really into music production, and I like to do it creatively. It wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to get paid doing, but it's something that I really like doing. And I remember at this time I was working at the dealership in the inventory department. I was making okay money, not crazy money, enough to pay my bills and you know, and hopefully just not stress about bills. Let's just say that. But at the same time, I was working on music, and I remember at the time, a coworker joined our team. Right, she joined our team through a mutual friend, and my friend was like, "Hey, you know, do you know that this coworker knows how to sing? And she sings really good, right?" And at the time, I was like, "Dude, I've been wanting to like try to make some R&B music and stuff with like a vocalist, a female vocalist, like, well, you know, like introduce me, you know." And whatever. She introduced herself, she sang for me, and I was like, "Dang, that's crazy. Like, you're super talented. Have you ever thought of like recording professionally?" And she was like, "No, like I never have." And at the time, I had studio time already booked. I was gonna go to the studio, and I told her, I was like, "Hey, like I have some studio time booked already. If you can give me just an hour of your time, like I'll make a beat for you. You don't even have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for studio time, you know." And I'll invite Charlie, which was our friend, and you know, he can come through. That way, it's not weird or anything. You don't feel that way. You feel comfortable. Like at the time, I think she had like a boyfriend and stuff, and I was like, "Dude, bring your boyfriend." Like it was nothing weird, right? It was literally just me trying to help somebody, right, by making making them a beat to sing on because they've never sang professionally and they were super talented. So fast forward, we make a song together, and it was amazing. It was an amazing song that we did not finish, right? We ran out of studio time, and I told her that we would get back to it. But long story short, you know, things got messy. I don't know what happened. She just gave up on it, and that was that. I didn't really think much of it, right? But that beat that I made, I really liked. It was a nice beat, right? Fast forward to, I want to say it was 3 years ago. So it was like almost like a year later. My wife wanted to stop working. She was tired of her job. She was working like 12 plus hours a day. A lot of times she was a manager at a grocery store. And if you ever work in a grocery store, you know how much freaking BS that you deal with, you know? And she was tired of it. And most importantly, she really wanted to be there for our daughters. She was tired of missing out on a lot of their lives. She was tired of being tired all the time. You know, she was just sick and tired of being tired, you know? And, you know, I did everything I possibly could to get her out of work, right? I told her, I was like, "Let's do it. Things are going to be tight, but let's do it. I want to give you what you want," right? So she stopped working. You know, she gave it her 2 weeks. She stopped working. I, you know, did anything I could to make extra money. I, you know, did Uber Eats. I did DoorDash on top of my job. If my job could, like, I could I'd stay later to make more money. That was that, you know, and we got by, thankfully, thank God, until we didn't, right? Until we started struggling financially. You know, we would get behind. We ran through our savings. You know, sometimes family members would help us out, and I was super thankful for that. You know, I'm never gonna have an ego, or I'm never gonna be too prideful to not accept someone's help. You know, just solely on the fact that I know that I would do the same in return, right? I know that I would do the same in the future, is help somebody out that's in need without expecting anything in return, you know? And I say that just because I think it's important, right? I think it's important to let someone know that going through financial hardships, there's nothing wrong with it, you know? There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I feel like we all might go through it in our lives. But just know that you're doing whatever you can, right? And hopefully you are. Hopefully you're doing everything that you know is possible. And honestly, you'd be surprised what you're capable of, you know? But anyways, so back to the story. Um, I remember one month in particular. I was it was the day before the first of the month, and you guys know the first of the month how it makes you feel as a person like paying bills, right? You're like, dang, it's the first of the month, like the rent is due, this bill's due, you know, like my check is gone before it even said hi, you know what I mean? Yeah, my check is like long gone. And it was the month, sorry, it was the day before the first, and I told my wife, I was like, hey, like I am $600 short on the rent this month. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of freaking money. And you know my wife being as crafty or as like, I guess I don't know what you would call that, crafty, as she's like a go-getter for sure, and she was just like, let's go do deliveries. If I have to ask somebody for money, like I'll do it, like I don't care. And it made me feel like crap. I'm not gonna lie to you, like I felt bad. And she's like, let's just freaking go. We'll spend the day doing Uber Eats. I think it was like a Sunday or something, because I remember being off, and she was just like, go do deliveries. We'll go see how much money we can make. And we spent that afternoon like doing deliveries, getting as much money as we could, and coming up short, right? And I don't remember exactly how much money we made, but it was not $600. If anything, it was just enough to pay for dinner that day. And um, I remember I have to backtrack. It was like a month or two before we were going through those financial hardships. That same song that I produced for my coworker, which was like an R&B song, um, I decided to put it online and put it on a platform called BeatStars. Platform called BeatStars. They basically pay producers. It's basically a marketplace for rappers, singers, any musician or artist, I should say, to get on there and look for licenses to music that they can use to either rap on, sing on, you know what I mean, and just use, right? Just use the license for. And I had known about the website, and I never took it seriously because at the time I was like, I just want to make music and that's it. I don't really necessarily want to make money from it like that, right? Um, and I remember it was like 2 months before my wife stopped working, I think I want to say, and I decided, I was like, you know what, like I wouldn't mind extra money. Like, let me freaking see what I can do with this. I'll I'll post some music on there and see what happens. I'll post some music on there and I'll run an ad. That's what I said. So that same song that I had made for that coworker that ended up fizzling out and didn't do anything from it. It was something that I was so excited about, but ended up not working. I decided to put that song on the website and promote it. And guess what? It didn't do anything. It didn't make no sales. Like, it didn't really do much. I think I made like one sale like a month after I had posted it, and it was like a $30 sale. It wasn't anything crazy. It didn't make me a millionaire. It didn't make like thousands of dollars. I made like $30, right? And I sold my leases like from 30 basic to 60 to 100, and then the exclusive rights had to be negotiable, right? They had to be negotiated. That's important for this next part of the story. So I put it on that website. Like I said, nothing happened. It was kind of anticlimactic, but I just left it up. I still was paying for the subscription to it and stuff like that. So fast forward back to when I was saying we were going through financial hardships and stuff. Like I said, set the setting again. Day before the rent is due, bills are due. I still got to feed my family for that day. And like I said, we were out all day doing DoorDash deliveries, whatever, to make some money. She went with me. The kids were in the back, just back there hanging out. And, we went to, it was time for dinner, it was time to call it quits. It was getting a little later. It was probably like around this time of the day. It was like around 6 or 7. And I remember feeling like so defeated and being just like, dude, like this is like the first time that I've ever been like this behind on my rent, you know? And I remember feeling so sad and so defeated as a man, like just Like, I'm not the provider I thought I was. And it made me feel like crap, you know? And we only made enough money to basically pay for dinner that day. And we didn't make dinner, so we had to go buy dinner at a fast food place at Jack in the Box. I don't know if you guys know what Jack in the Box is. It's a fast food place. And my wife was driving, and I was like getting off at the places that we were doing deliveries to, right? And it was time for dinner. My daughters are in the back, and I'm feeling like crap. I'm like, damn, like we're short $600. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do, And I'm quiet. I'm like quiet. I don't know. Like, I don't want to make my wife stress. I don't want to make her feel bad. And she's driving through the drive-thru. We're placing our order, blah, blah, blah. And as we're waiting for our food, the same website, the BeatStars website that I'm telling you about, they have an app. And on the app, I get a notification. It's like a message. And at first I thought it was like spam, because I was like, there's no way. And it was an artist named Don Mob. That was his name. Shout out to Don. He's a good friend now. And Don basically was like, the message said like, hey, I came across your song, and I've been freaking like loving it. I've been writing to it. I'm about to get ready to record to it. Are you willing to give me the exclusive rights for $500? When I tell you that God's timing is crazy, it's unbelievable, unfathomable, like I'm telling you, like I'm getting like all angsty, like just thinking about it. And like I said, I could not believe it. I was like, there's no way this is real. And then I get like a little another notification where the app would give you a notification when someone sends you like an offer to buy your beat exclusively. And it literally said, Don Mob has offered you $500 for exclusive rights to this song. And I was just like, no way, right? I'm looking at my phone while my wife is driving in the drive-thru, and I'm like, no way. She's like, what? And I was like, someone just offered me $500 to the freaking song that I made for so-and-so. The one that was sitting on my computer, the one that was doing nothing for months until I uploaded it, until I put it out there, until I put $5 in ads to promote it. Me thinking it did nothing, paid me $500, or was going to pay me $500 today, the day before our rent was due. Tell me that's not crazy timing. Tell me that's not putting yourself in a position to receive your blessings, to receive abundance, to receive what you've been asking for, to receive what you've been praying for, to receive what God has deemed you're ready for. It's crazy. It's crazy, and I can't believe this story when I tell it. Like it's just crazy, only because it's crazy to me. If it doesn't sound crazy to you, like you made $500, like whatever, right? And it's not the $500, it's the situation that I was in. It's what the $500 meant to me at that time. Because my wife being home, taking care of our kids meant more to me than the $500. Because obviously we have to keep a roof over our heads. And my wife being my wife, she was just like to ask him for $600 because that's what we needed for the rent. It was $100 more, right, than he was offering us. And I told him, I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's crazy. Like, what if he like says no and the negotiation ends? You know what I mean? And he pulls out of the deal. And she's just like, no, like ask him, like tell him, like just like $600, blah blah. You can have full rights. And he was still giving me publishing, which was pretty cool of him to do. He still wanted to give me publishing. And then I did a counter offer of $600, and I think it was like 40% of publishing. And whatever, like I just typed up the offer and I sent it back. Me thinking like this is, you know what I mean? It's not gonna, like, he's not gonna take it, And he literally, I sent it over $600 plus 40% publishing, and he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And when I hear the little cha-ching, and when I looked down on my PayPal and it was freaking $600 in there, I can't believe it. I'm like, there's no way that this was the exact amount we needed to pay our rent. And here it is. I quickly transferred that money into our bank. We went to go pay our freaking rent. And I tell you guys this story because it means a lot to me. Only because I know there's someone out there that's like ready to receive their blessings. They know what they want. They know what they need to do. They know what they're capable of. They know what their skills are. They know what they're probably made on this earth to do, or even just what they're good at, you know? And if you're not putting yourself in a position to receive, right? Because if I never would have asked that artist to sing on one of my songs, I would have never made that beat. If I would have never made that beat, I would have never posted it. On that website, right? I would have never posted it on BeatStars. If I would have never posted it on BeatStars, Don would have never found it. Don, the artist, he would have never found it. You know, if I didn't believe that message was real, I would have left $500, $600 on the table. And I didn't. You know, I put myself in that position, not knowing, right? Not knowing that was going to eventually happen, but not being afraid to be like, tell that artist like, hey, like, would you be down to do this? You know, not being afraid to put myself, spend a little bit of money on the ads to get it in return. You know, there's a lot of things in that story that I could have said no, or I could have been like, nah, or maybe eventually, you know. Man, that story's crazy. It's crazy. But when I tell you that you got to put yourself in a position to receive, like, you got to put yourself in a position to receive, you know, or like, you don't know what something's going to do. You don't know what's going to mean to somebody. Like, if you post that video, if you make that song, if you start that business, you don't know whose life you're going to change, you know. Along the way, you're trying to change your life, but you just don't know, you know. It'll pay your rent someday. That's crazy, you know. And that's why I made this channel too, because I know that by me being motivated to help somebody out there, being motivated by that, being my driving force, if I end up making any cent from this YouTube channel because of that, like, I'd be eternally grateful. I'd be so thankful, you know. But I'm gonna leave you guys there. I hope you guys put yourself in position to receive your blessings, your abundance. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.